Today officially marks 100 days of promises made and promises kept by President Trump. This has truly been the most historic start to a presidency in American history. After building the greatest economy in the world in his first term as president, President Trump is in the process of doing that all over again. The American people trust in President Trump. Since his first day in office, President Trump has focused on defeating the Biden inflation crisis, bringing down the cost of living, and making the United States the best place in the world to do business, invest, create jobs, and innovate. And President Trump's efforts are working. 345,000 jobs have already been added since the start of President Trump's term. Last month's jobs report saw nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and it was the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. 9,000 manufacturing jobs have been added to the economy already. This is a sharp contrast to the 6,000 manufacturing jobs that were lost each month in the final 2 years of the Biden administration. The U.S. employment rate remains at historic lows. And thanks to President Trump, Americans are seeing price relief for the first time in years. The last inflation report showed the first consumer price decline since the COVID pandemic, a decrease in energy prices, and real average hourly wage growth. President Trump is delivering on his promises to lower costs for American families and businesses. Prices across the board for everyday goods have seen declines since this president was inaugurated. From airfare to used motor vehicles to prescription drugs, prices are dropping. In fact, last month's drop in the price of prescription drugs was the largest ever recorded. And after Joe Biden botched the response to the bird flu, President Trump and Secretary Rollins' aggressive plan have brought down wholesale egg prices more than 50% from Inauguration Day.
Happy 100 days, everyone. Just hours after President Trump took the oath of office, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was confirmed in a historic bipartisan vote of 99-0. From day one, he got right to work, and I can certainly attest to that. As I said in my first briefing, Secretary Rubio promised to deliver a foreign policy grounded in President Trump's vision, one that would make America stronger, safer, and more prosperous. 100 days later, that promise is being kept. Secretary Rubio has returned the department to the fundamentals of diplomacy, engaging in the persuasion and power of face-to-face meetings around the globe, reminding our partners that being friends with the United States brings benefits that improve the quality of everyone's lives.
America is less safe and more expensive than it was 100 days ago. Trump's reckless tariffs are going to make high price of groceries, gas, housing, utilities, clothing, electronics, and other essential goods even worse. Companies are laying off hardworking Americans, and we are staring down an impending supply chain crisis in a few weeks.
Donald Trump's first 100 days have been one of the worst first 100 days of any U.S. president in history. That's because his policies are harming America. And the American people have noticed. Multiple polls show Trump's approval ratings plummeting. An Associated Press poll showed him at only 39% approval, 59% disapproval. And a recent Washington Post poll also shows him at only 39% approval, the lowest of any U.S. president in 80 years. One reason is because of tariffs. His indiscriminate tariffs have increased prices. I urge all of you to look at the statement from the International Longshore and Warehouse Union. They put out a statement saying that the tariffs are crushing the working class with higher prices.
The first 100 days proves that we are headed in the right direction, the direction in which 77 million people voted for. Just look at the White House lawn today. Pictures of violent, illegal aliens that Biden let into our country. These rapists, murderers, and child molesters have no home here in the United States of America. And guess what? There's room on the White House lawn for a lot more of them. And that's what the American people voted for. And we are going to keep going until every single one of them is removed to make our streets for Americans safer. Thankfully, there's a lot less of those illegals coming in now, because apprehensions at the border are down 94%. And Border Patrol averaged the lowest daily nationwide apprehensions in history. President Trump is taking action and Congress is passing border security bills. We've sent a message. The border is closed.
Oh, it's been noted a couple times here, but 100 days ago, not far from where we're standing right now, President Trump made his historic return to the presidency. He made a lot of promises, and as Whip Emmer noted, the 4 words that best describe this administration so far is promises made, promises kept. We've recounted among this group many times, 77 million Americans delivered President Trump a landslide victory. We had our highest popular vote total ever as House Republicans, 74.8 million, and we got a mandate to do exactly what we're doing right now. We have not wasted a moment. President Trump has accomplished more in the first 100 days than most presidents do in their entire careers, their entire tenures. The Atlantic, right? I don't know if there's an Atlantic reporter here this morning, but that's not President Trump's, they're not a fan of him, right? Yesterday they described him this way, quote, "He is the most consequential American leader of the 21st century." And that's an understatement. President Trump has, here's a list, removed men from women's sports, ended DEI in the federal government and the U.S. military, expanded oil and gas extraction to lower prices, taken steps to end unfair trade practices, secured trillions of dollars in new investments in American manufacturing, deported criminal illegal aliens, stood up for religious liberty and rooted out anti-Christian bias, combated virulent anti-Semitism on college campuses. The list goes on and on and on. That's just barely scratching the surface. That's in 100 days. We're just getting started, and that's one of the reasons that we're so excited.
Trump, Musk, and the billionaire class are using the government to rip off working people every single day for 100 days. For 100 days, they have cut your services. For 100 days, they've raised your prices. For 100 days, they have fired veterans and stolen their salaries. For 100 days, Trump, Musk, and the billionaire class have gotten richer off of you while our country has gotten screwed. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. For his entire career, Trump has stolen from working people while claiming to be, quote, anti-establishment. But in the last 100 days, Trump has finally ripped that anti-establishment mask off, starting with the row of billionaires sitting right behind him at his inauguration and continuing every day since. Trump has created a government by and for the billionaires. And if anyone ever doubted that Trump and Musk and Bezos and the billionaires are all at one team, just look at what happened at Amazon today. Bezos immediately caved and walked back a plan to tell Americans how much Trump's tariffs are costing them. Bezos, who spent $40 million on Melania Trump's documentary, wants big tax cuts and sweetheart deals much more than he wants to represent the American people. The message to our communities and to people watching at home is crystal clear. These billionaires and Trump are on one team and stick together. And it is the responsibility of Democrats to bring people across the country together that are everybody else besides the billionaires.
We knew that the lies, the chaos, and the destruction were on its way when Trump got sworn in 100 days ago. And just in 3 months, we have seen the gutting of institutions, the shattering of norms, and the fundamental rights of so many people being trampled on. We have watched Trump tear through our government like a wrecking ball by destabilizing federal agencies, undermining the rule of law, and lashing out against anyone who dares to dissent. Trump said he would fight for workers. Instead, he handed the federal government over to a billionaire, Elon Musk, who fired tens of thousands of public servants whose only crime is doing their job. And what do we have to show for it? Not $1 trillion in saving, not even close. Trump swore he would bring down prices. Instead, his reckless tariffs have rattled markets, interest rates are soaring, and the threat of recession looms. A recent poll showed that only 11% of Americans feel better off since the election, with majority believing the economy is deteriorating. Trump swore he will pay off the national debt. Instead, he wants to hand out tax breaks to billions while planning to cut Medicaid and SNAP. And here at home, we're seeing ICE has deported nearly 140,000 people, often with no due process or real hearings. In our streets, the crackdown has reached a terrifying new level. Students have been disappeared. Their only crime is daring to demand an end to a genocide. This is the behavior of a dictator. They are trying to turn our government into a weapon to punish enemies and reward friends.